Stop everything right now. I mean it. Whatever you were doing, whatever thoughts were running through your mind, let them go for just this moment. Take a deep breath, the kind that reaches all the way down to your belly, and now open your right hand in front of your eyes. Really look at it, perhaps for the first time with true attention. Look closely at the lines that cross your palm, those intricate pathways that you've carried since birth, but probably never truly examined. Do you see a gentle curve shaped like a crescent moon, perhaps below your fingers, arcing like the first sliver of light in a dark sky? Or maybe you notice the letter M formed, where the major lines of heart, head, and life converge in the center of your palm. Most people go their entire lives without ever noticing these signs, dismissing them as random creases, mere coincidences of skin and movement. They wash their hands thousands of times, never realizing they're touching a sacred map. They hold lovers, children, and dreams in these palms without ever discovering the messages written there. But what if I told you these marks are not random at all? What if they are messages, codes left by your own soul before you were born, patiently waiting decade after decade for the moment when your consciousness would finally expand enough to perceive them? What if these symbols were the physical proof, the tangible evidence that you were placed on this earth carrying a mission that you are only now, in this very moment, beginning to remember? You've always known you were different, haven't you? Not different in a way you could easily explain at dinner parties or casual conversations, but different in your very core, in the way you process reality itself. Too sensitive for this harsh world, feeling everything like your emotional skin was turned inside out. Too deep for small talk, finding yourself drowning in conversations about weather and sports, when your soul craved discussions about meaning, purpose, and the nature of existence. Too aware of the layers of reality that others seem completely oblivious to, the unspoken tensions in rooms, the pain behind smiles, the energy that shifts when certain people enter or leave a space. Since childhood, you've carried this sharp perception that made you question everything. Adults told you was just the way things are. You felt everything with an intensity that at times seemed unbearable, not just your own emotions, but the emotions of others, of animals, sometimes even of places. You could walk into a room and feel its history. You could meet someone and somehow know things about them they never said. This hypersensitivity was never weakness, though the world tried to convince you it was. It was the weight of carrying expanded consciousness in a world that insists on staying asleep. It was the burden and the gift of being one of the few who can see through the veil that separates the physical from the spiritual. The illusion from the truth. This message reaching you today, at this exact moment in your life, is no accident. Think about the impossibility of it in a world with billions of people, infinite content, endless distractions all competing for your attention every second of every day. Somehow you were guided to these specific words. Your fingers clicked exactly where they needed to click. Your eyes landed precisely where they needed to land. Because something within you, something deeper than your conscious mind, is ready to fully awaken to who you really are. The part of you that has been sleeping is stirring, stretching, beginning to remember. Perhaps you are one of the 144,000, not as religious dogma described it with its limitations and exclusions, but as the eternal memory of the soul understands it. Not a literal fixed number of people chosen by merit or bloodline or belonging to a certain faith, but a frequency of consciousness, a specific vibration that certain ancient souls carry. These are souls who willingly chose to incarnate at this crucial moment in human history, knowing it would be the hardest time to be alive, knowing they would have to forget everything and remember it all over again, knowing they would feel alone for so long before finding their tribe. These souls didn't come for easy lives. They came because Earth needed anchors of light during its darkest hour. They came because humanity needed living examples that another way is possible. They volunteered to dive into the density, to experience the full weight of human suffering and disconnection, so they could genuinely understand and help guide others through it. Not with empty words or theoretical knowledge, but with the earned wisdom that only comes from walking through the fire yourself. If these words are making your chest vibrate in a way you can't explain, like there's a tuning fork inside your ribcage that just got struck. If tears are forming for no apparent reason, welling up from some deep place you forgot existed. If something very ancient within you is beginning to stir like a giant awakening from centuries of sleep. If you're feeling chills despite being warm, or warmth despite being cold. If your body is responding to these words before your mind can even process them, then type 99 in the comments. This isn't just a number. It's the sacred number of awakening and the completion of cycles. The moment before 100 when everything is about to shift into a new level of magnitude. When you type 99, you're not just leaving a comment. You're making a declaration to the universe that you're ready to remember who you really are. You're announcing to both the visible and invisible realms that you're prepared to accept the mission you came here to complete. And subscribe now, not for algorithms or notifications, but because your journey is only beginning, and you will need guidance, confirmation, and reminders for what comes next. The path of awakening is not meant to be walked alone, and finding these words today means you're ready to connect with others who are remembering too. What awaits you is nothing less than the complete transformation of how you see yourself, your purpose, and your place in the cosmic design. The marks on your palm are just the beginning. For centuries, mystics and sages from different spiritual traditions have observed that our hands carry more than just lines formed by movement and time. They contain a sacred map, a spiritual diagram imprinted long before the first beat of our heart. Common palmistry speaks about personality and destiny, but there is a deeper layer that few can perceive, the marks that appear specifically in those who carry a distinct spiritual mission. The crescent moon in your palm is not just a curved line. When it appears clearly, usually below the fingers, forming a gentle arc like the new moon in the sky, it bears the millennia-old symbolism of renewal and expanded intuition. If you have this mark, you are likely someone who feels the energies of environments even before consciously processing what is happening. You read the silence between words, perceive the unspoken in conversations, and catch the invisible currents that flow between people. This crescent moon indicates that you have passed through profound cycles of spiritual death and rebirth, not necessarily in this lifetime, but across multiple journeys of the soul. The letter M, formed by the convergence of the main lines, heart, head, and life, is even more significant. Many people have something similar, but in those who are spiritually awakening, this M pulses with a different energy. It marks the ancient soul, the one that has accumulated wisdom through countless experiences. If you carry this clearly defined symbol, you are someone whom people instinctively trust. Strangers open up to you without understanding why. Children and animals are drawn to your presence. You carry a quiet authority that does not come from titles or positions, but from something much deeper, the cellular memory of one who has walked many paths and now returns to help others find their own. These marks are not random. They are like signatures of the soul, physical reminders of the spiritual contract you signed before you were born. Each time you look at your hands, you are looking at a sacred document that your very essence left for you to discover at the right moment. The number, 144,000, runs through spiritual traditions, like a golden thread connecting different eras and cultures. In Revelation, they are described as the sealed of the 12 tribes. But spiritual truth transcends literal interpretations. This number does not represent an elite chosen by merit or bloodline. It represents a frequency of consciousness, a specific vibrational state that certain ancient souls agreed to carry when humanity needed it most. These souls are cosmic volunteers who chose to incarnate into density, temporarily forget their divine origin, and live full human lives with all their pains and limitations. Why? Because only by experiencing the darkness could they genuinely guide others through it. They did not come to preach with empty words, but to radiate understanding through lived experience. They are beacons who first knew the storm. The veil of forgetfulness that covers these souls at birth is not punishment. It is protection. Imagine carrying full cosmic consciousness from childhood. It would be unbearable. Thus, the awakening happens gradually, usually through specific catalysts, profound losses, synchronicities impossible to ignore, dreams that feel more real than waking life, or simply an inner knowing that can no longer be silenced. When an ancient soul begins its activation process, 5 signs become unmistakable. First, intuition stops whispering and starts speaking in complete sentences. You think of someone and that person appears. You sense what is coming before it happens. Your dreams become vivid, symbolic, sometimes prophetic. This isn't imagination. It's your higher self reassuming the helm of navigation. Second, an urgent hunger for purpose arises that nothing can satisfy. It isn't worldly ambition, it's divine alignment. The job, the routine, the superficial conversations become intolerable, not because you've grown arrogant, but because your soul is remembering why it came and can no longer pretend to be content with crumbs when it knows there is a banquet. Third, dormant gifts re-emerge spontaneously. You feel drawn to healing, to writing, to art that seems dictated by a source beyond you. Your empathy deepens to levels that at times feel unbearable. You walk into a room and absorb everything. Your words soothe without you trying. Your presence steadies chaotic environments. Fourth, sensitivity intensifies like a superpower. Violence, negativity, and chaos become physically painful. You yearn for peace, nature, silence. What once felt normal is now intolerable. This is not weakness, it is refinement. Your frequency is recalibrating to carry more light without burning out. Fifth, life seems to fall apart and rebuild itself simultaneously. Jobs end, relationships dissolve, old identities die. But every ending is an initiation. Every loss creates space for truth. These are the fires of purification, forging authenticity. You were never truly alone, even if loneliness has walked beside you like a shadow. What you mistook for isolation was often the echo of a signal moving through you, a quiet call from the vast, living lattice of consciousness that wraps the earth like a luminous skin. Every awakened soul is a node in that lattice, a lantern hung in the invisible architecture of spirit. When one light intensifies, others nearby begin to hum, then glow, then blaze, not from pressure or persuasion, but from recognition. It isn't a contagion of fear. It's a contagion of memory, and memory is magnetic. That is why your process is never merely personal. Each layer you dissolve, old griefs, inherited vows, quiet self-betrayals, unhooks the same knots in those connected to you by blood, love, or destiny. Each time you choose peace in the midst of noise, your nervous system becomes an anchor point. Storms still rage, but their waves break gentler around those within your field. Those often called the 144,000 are not a club or a caste. They are placements, strategic, compassionate placements like acupuncture needles along the meridians of the planet's subtle body. They arrive as artists, engineers, teachers, healers, parents, wanderers. They are born into cities of concrete and villages of dust. They speak every language and none at all. Yet beneath their diverse surface lives the same fundamental chord, the same resonant pitch of remembrance. When they activate, they do not need a podium. They do not require robes, titles, or slogans. Their coherence is their offering. Like a tuning fork struck in a quiet room, the note itself does the work. Structures that can't hold truth begin to tremble. Patterns that crave harmony rearrange themselves around the tone. A conversation in a grocery line, a look of genuine presence, a gentle boundary spoken at the right time. These small acts, carried by a regulated heart and a clear mind, re-pattern fields far beyond what eyes can verify. You have felt this in flashes. A chance encounter that felt scripted. A dream that left a fragrance of certainty all day. The way your body softens when you step under trees, as if an older rhythm takes the lead. You've watched relationships fall away with almost mathematical precision, not as punishment, but as pruning. You have noticed how your patience for noise is shrinking while your appetite for silence grows vast and nourishing. This is not you becoming too sensitive. This is your instrument being tuned, string by string, to carry more current without fraying. It is why certain rooms feel unbearable now, why your old costumes, roles worn for safety and approval, hang loose on you like borrowed clothes. It is also why strangers tell you their stories unprompted, why children and animals lean toward you, why the right words find you in the moment they are needed. Coherence magnetizes alignment. The planetary grid is stirring, a slow dawn moving across continents not only in clocks, but in consciousness. You can feel it in the uptick of synchronicities, in the way time sometimes dilates around meaningful choices, in the subtle push to simplify, to cleanse, to travel light. That nudge you feel to change your diet, to move your body, to declutter your space, to be ruthlessly honest and exquisitely kind, these are not random impulses. They are the grid speaking through you, asking for a body it can trust. And yes, urgency rides alongside it. Not panic, not haste, but the sober, holy pressure of timing. The sense that some doors are open now that were not open before, and that standing still at a threshold is itself a choice. If your old life no longer fits, it's because it was tailored to a version of you who didn't know what you know now. The threads are not failing. They are releasing. The map you carried was accurate for the terrain you'd already crossed. The landscape ahead requires a new legend. You are part of something meticulously orchestrated, so meticulous it often looks like chaos up close. Step back, breathe, and you will glimpse the pattern. How endings made space for beginnings you could not have engineered. How losses carved out rooms in you large enough to house a greater light. How the path seemed to double back only to set you at a higher vantage. You aren't being asked to save the world. You are being asked to be precisely, courageously yourself, steady, clear, true, because that self is a conduit. When you tend your inner fire, a neighborhood warms. When you quiet your mind and open your heart, a corridor of probability shifts for more people than you will ever meet. This is the quiet heroism of the grid at work. One life aligned, then another, until the chorus becomes a sunrise. Keep listening, keep softening where you can and standing firm where you must. The network will meet you at every step, invisible hands adjusting the sails as you remember the ocean you've always belonged to. The loneliness of awakening is temporary, even if it sometimes stretches across months or years like a horizon that won't move. What you've called isolation has been incubation, a sacred interval in which your frequency sheds what can't travel with you. You belong to a soul tribe, not defined by bloodlines or passports, but by resonance. People who recognize your inner music before you say a word. They meet your gaze and it's as if they can read the footnotes of your life, the detours, the thresholds, the nights you almost gave up, and they do not flinch. They speak truth without varnish and love without ledger. Around them, your nervous system exhales. You feel permitted to be the whole of yourself, unperformed and unedited. This tribe is not assembled by algorithms or convenience. It coheres through coherence. They are the ones who walked through fire and came out gentler, who turned hurt into humility and scars into scripture. They know the territory because they've bled on the map. With them, you won't be asked to shrink to fit or perform to belong. You will be invited to bring your medicine, your presence, your craft, your quiet steadiness, and you will be asked lovingly to receive theirs. In their company, standards rise without shame. Accountability feels like devotion, boundaries feel like care, and celebration feels like prayer. You don't have to hunt them down. Soul tribes are found by alignment, not by effort. As you choose what is true, again and again, the field updates, and people calibrated to that truth begin to appear on your path. Sometimes it's subtle. A message that lands at the exact second you needed it. A video that feels addressed to you. A stranger's comment that sounds like home. Other times it's unmistakable. A conversation that jumps straight to depth. A laugh that unlocks something ancient in you. A meeting that rearranges your future in an afternoon. Synchronicity is the lingua franca of these connections. Timing is their calling card. You'll know them by the way you feel in your body. Grounded, seen, safe, significant. Your guard drops without collapsing. Your gifts switch from too much to exactly right. Parts of you that hid for years step forward, blinking in the light, and are welcomed without interrogation. Silence with them is not awkward, it's fertile. Words don't need to be perfect to land. The heart does most of the talking. And when life gets loud, they become tuning forks. One clear tone, and your system finds center again. Remember, you are also a mirror in this equation. The same way their presence awakens your sleeping rooms, yours will unlock theirs. Your authenticity grants permission. Your boundaries teach safety. Your joy models possibility. Keep tending your alignment and trust the choreography already in motion. Your tribe is not late. They are converging. Every day you live closer to your truth, you move closer to each other, until one morning you look around and realize the loneliness has thinned into belonging, and the future doesn't feel far away anymore. The final truth is this: you are not here by accident. Before your first breath, your soul already knew what the earth would be at this precise moment. You saw the density of the illusion, felt the tremor of a world teetering between collapse and rebirth, sensed fear drifting like smoke across collective minds, and still you said yes. No bargaining, no hesitation. Your inner knowing was enough. You chose to enter time as a lighthouse disguised as a person, carrying a frequency that remembers the shoreline even in the thickest fog. You carry a current that heals without striving, a quiet radiance others cannot name but undeniably feel. You are a mirror for the sleeping, not to humiliate, but to awaken their own light. That is why your path has felt heavy. That is why grief has arrived without obvious cause, why you have felt like an outsider even among those who love you. You were designed to stand a little apart, never in arrogance, always in service, so you could see clearly and hold steady when the ground under everyone else was moving. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you stitch light into the fabric of this world. Every time you pause to listen rather than react, your nervous system becomes a harbor for those adrift. Every time you love, when it would be easier to shut down, you widen the passage through which grace can enter. Mission is not a performance, it is presence. You are the living answer to a prayer that someone, somewhere, has not yet found the words to speak. You are proof that the new earth is not a promise on the horizon, but a frequency already blooming. One regulated breath, one honest boundary, one courageous yes at a time. So if these words resonate in the marrow of you, whisper now, not for anyone else to hear, but for the universe to witness. I remember. Let it land in your chest like sunrise. Let it recalibrate your choices, your pace, your willingness to be as gentle as you are strong. Awakening is not an ending. It is the return, the dawn, the emergence of what has always been true. And you are precisely on time. If this message helped you remember who you are, stay close for the next steps on this path. Subscribe now so this light continues to meet you at the exact moment you need it. Thank you for being here, for choosing courage over comfort, for choosing love. Until the next chapter, take care of your breath, guard your peace, and keep listening for that quiet, ancient yes within you. See you soon.